Mr. DJ.
Yo, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is our Breakfast Bankroll for Thursday, March 2nd, 2023. I'm going to have to start adding, I'll say 15, 20 minutes to a few of our guests because we have a show before the show, then we have the show, then we usually have the show after the show. So it's our weekly trip down to Florida. The one and only Mr. John Murges joins us in the ECSI studios. We're like two peas in a pod. You know, we get talking and the rest is history. We might have to start taping our pre and after shows and send it to Netflix because I think we might have something brewing there, Johnny. But without further ado, let's bring him in from the Palm Tree State himself, the one and only Mr. John Murges.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Wow, no complaints. Yeah, we're gonna have to start taping it. We do have our pre-show and then after show, and too bad we're not live in the studio. We are live, but not in the studio. We could have our after, pre, and post show parties. It's all that's missing right now.
We're wrapping up the regular season of college hoops. Some of the smaller conferences have actually started their tournaments. It's funny. You brought up a team just before we went live, and then I was thinking in my head another team. Two teams rounding into form where people started to say a few weeks ago, they might not make the tournament. Now people are thinking this teams are Final Four potential worthy. And we're talking about the Indiana Hoosiers and the Kentucky Wildcats, especially the Wildcats where the SEC was dominated by Tennessee then and now Alabama. And we know what Alabama's going through with Brandon Miller in that situation. And in comes the Wildcats. Will they make the tournament? Will they not make the tournament? Then they start rolling 2-0 against Tennessee. In comes Vandy and said, not so fast, Coach Cal. You're not in yet. What are you thinking about them Wildcats?
Kentucky, surprisingly, went from a team that I really wasn't, I kind of gave up on just because of the competition. But Kentucky, as we pull them up, is a team that's just they could surprise in this tournament. They really could. They're putting it together, and there's a lot of this conference tournament is going to give us a lot of at least insight on how Kentucky's going to perform. They're a competitive team, 20-9. They went through that rough patch, but do we call them a sleeper? Yeah, I would. I mean, they're a sleeper team. You and I were talking earlier about, UConn. I asked your feelings about UConn. I took them as a future bet. Bama, yeah, something scares. I don't know what it is, but something scares me about Bama. They've only lost 4 games, but it just seems like it could be my inner, just my inner self saying, or knowing a premonition. I like the Zags to, as they always do, at least get to the Elite 8. But I took them, I think it was plus, it was 30-1 what I got them at. But no, you make a good point. We'll have to watch closely these conference tournaments. The the big boy tournaments. The smaller schools, those guys will sneak in, maybe do some damage in the first round. We could see an upset. You got to watch those 12 seeds versus the 5 seeds as usual. There's going to be some upsets there, but a week from this Sunday will be selection show, so it's something I always look forward to.
You know, I went back. I had Tyler Wyatt on last Friday, and we were reminiscing. And I painted a picture, and he said to me, "Man, you are so spot on. Where Kentucky gets that 8-9 seed, they win their first game, they face that number 1 seed, and you go back to that undefeated Wichita back a handful of years ago that caught Kentucky on the second game, and unfortunately did not win that game. And Kentucky's that team that, and there'll be a handful of others, but you don't want to see in your bracket, especially if you're a 1 or 2 seed, knowing you could face them with just one day to prepare on the second game of that first weekend.
Exactly, and that's what makes the not only the conference tournaments, especially the conference tournaments. You're going to play the next day, as the games are, and so conditioning, preparation, conditioning is the biggest thing. I see a lot of teams right now strategically not keeping players out, but limiting their minutes. Which when you're betting these games, it's gonna make a difference. And we're not gonna know. I mean, that's the unknown going into picking the game, in the afternoon or the early evening, getting the right line, and then not knowing if the coach is going to be rotating them because they don't talk about these things. College is so, especially as college football, you can't get a legitimate injury report to save your life. But we're talking about basketball, and that's the thing that concerns me about some of these teams in the conference tournament is will they be prepared to play back-to-back games, and of course they'll be prepared, but will they able is the coach going to use the right rotation? How many runs will there be? You'll notice in the tournament teams go on runs more than the regular season. You'll see a team go on a 12-14-0 run, and it happens often. You've seen it, I've seen it over the years, and you just have to, use your timeouts and good coaching. Good play is key, but now you're going to see who can really coach, and we have an idea of who the best coaches are in college basketball, but who are the best tournament coaches? Guys that are ready and prepared for tournament play, which is so much different than regular season play, as everybody does now.
You're building your portfolio. You're talking about your futures. You already have them in your portfolio. They're in pocket.
Yes.
I was talking, I sent a tweet out yesterday, and Matt, our friend Matt, jumped in and talking about Creighton and UConn. And I was like, well, I can't wait for MSG. I was like, I got, UConn in the back of my brain winning this Big East. And he quickly rebutted that I don't think Creighton is long for New York City next week. And I said to him very simply, I think Creighton is built for a longer run in the big dance than I'm afraid of UConn peaking again. And like last year, no one was talking about New Mexico State waiting in the weeds. And
right.
Then they get beat. So my question to you is, you got your tickets in tow. Do you want to see your teams make a long run next weekend? Or would you rather have them, win a game or two and save the legs and get a quicker start for Selection Sunday and to find out where they're heading?
It's a great question. And you know what? To be honest, Yeah, I'd like to see him play a couple games, the top and get out, and get that head start with the rest. Um, sure, you want to win your conference, but that's a conference championship is nothing compared to winning the national championship. It's a hell of an achievement, but if you really think you can make a run at these guys and you think you have the horses, it's probably best to see, you know, hey, I'd love to see Marquette get, eliminated after 2 games, play 2 games and they're out. They're going to be a top seed or one of the top seeds, 1, 2, you know, but I'd love to. You make an excellent point. It's a valid point. A lot of people might disagree with us, but they need the rest. I mean, they just got done playing what, almost 30 games, 29 games. Some of these teams, they're tired. And now you got to go into conference play and then play those back to backs, as we said. So I I like it, especially these top ranked teams. Forget about the conference championship. Go for the big one.
And you'll see a lot of teams that need to win the tournament or at least get to the finals in the tournament to make the big dance.
Right.
There's some teams in the ACC, there's some teams in the Big Ten, and all the conferences that need that good run. They need to win 3 or 4 games to potentially, as Joe Lunardi starts moving, the slate back and forth, in, out, first 4 in, first last, blah 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 blah. You know, so so it is going to be interesting there. Today, there's a handful of big boys playing. I love Thursdays because I used to bowl on Thursday nights, and before TV got to be 1,000 stations, I'd come home and I'd sit in my corner with the Pac-12 late night, and I'd be all excited because I get to watch some good basketball late at night when everyone's sleeping. Now they're everywhere, but I'm a Pac-12 junkie. I cannot get off UCLA with their experience. I think they're destined to go a long way in this dance. But nice slate today. Where does John Murges his eyes going today? Anything hitting the so-called Murges system today?
Um, I'm looking at this Illinois Michigan game right now. Looking at Illinois, they've kind of slacked off a little bit. Both teams match up pretty well. I mean, if you look at the way they match up, 115 scoring, um, Illinois averages 68 points a game. Michigan averages 66. Um, I'm looking at that game closely, leaning towards Michigan, believe it or not, because one thing Michigan does need is a quality win. Now, I'm not saying beating Illinois will be that much of a quality win. They'll have to do well in the tournament. Um, I'm looking at Houston minus the 16.5 against Wichita State. There's a team right there, Houston, who a lot of people may have futures, may like to win it all. Um, I'm kind of torn, but I like Wichita State. Here's a game where this is probably Houston's last regular season game, I believe. I mean, Sunday ends it. They might play one more. This is a spot with Houston at 27-2, ranked number 1 in the country, as everybody knows, where if they build a lead on Wichita State, which they should, okay, they're going to rest some guys. This is a perfect opportunity. Hey, listen, it's Wichita State. We'll still be number 1 in the country. We both have our phones going off. We're popular guys, aren't we? But I like Wichita State plus the 16.5. I know you like to use the word leans. As we go down the list, you have to excuse me, Jeff, as I look down the lines over here. There's another game. Here's your Pac-12 game. UCLA laying the small amount of points, 11.5. I call it small, to an Arizona State team that has been playing some good ball. UCLA minus 11.5 might be another game in which they decide to rest some players. So those are the 3 games I'm looking at right now. So I'll take it from here, I think. While Jeff's indisposed, as we'll say. See if we can find another game. I've never done a show myself. Let me tell you some jokes. No, I'm kidding.